Take two, we're back. Gunnar Lee, how are you? Welcome to another live. Hey, how are you, man?
Listen, I'm going to repeat what I said before.
Yeah.
We're top of the tree, life's good, and we're going to be top of the tree for the next 5-6 weeks. So yeah, I can't complain.
Listen, we get to enjoy it. Even after we play West Ham, we'll still be top of the league.
Yeah,
So, look, I agree. I think this is a real time for Arsenal fans and actually the people at the club to reflect on these first 14 games, why they've gone so well, and just enjoy themselves during this World Cup. We really sometimes seasons can end with disappointment. They can end with, listen, either you've achieved your goals and you go into World Cups feeling great, but you know, while everyone's talking about the negatives of this World Cup in terms of what it could do for the players, how it could disrupt seasons, all that, what you've also got is an opportunity for Arsenal to pause, reflect on everything, figure out why it's gone so well, look at how we can build on it, because a regular season doesn't give you that time for reflection.
I think you missed another thing, and to add quality, and that's what we have the opportunity to do. I think it's such a unique moment, and for every club, but for Arsenal, we didn't expect to be here. So now we can now also put some of the onus onto the club to say, look, we're in a position that you didn't think. I know they're going to say that we're probably above or kind of further with these targets, but we can make the most of a bad situation for the other teams, and this is a great situation for us. So there's so many things that we can take stock on, and listen, long may it continue, man.
And you're right about, you know, the other teams might have more problems. That, you know, United, City have a lot of players at the World Cup. Arsenal need to not only, they don't need to focus at all on what could go wrong, because you deal with that if it goes wrong. Say Jesus picks up an injury, you obviously hope it doesn't, that kind of thing. But it's about looking at the opportunities and looking at the bigger picture. And I think what I wanted to do on this live, and I've done this before, and actually had a lot of fun with it, it's basically just a vote and debate show. What I mean by that is we're going to throw out a load of topics. We're not just going to say them. We're going to put a poll in the comment section. You guys get to have your say. Get in your comments. Let us know your thoughts if you want to add a little bit more to just the vote that you submit. But there's loads of these. I think I've got 8 polls that we're going to do. And we're just going to fly through them because what they're based off debates and discussions that I've seen throughout the Arsenal fan base over the last couple months or whatever. And I think now that we've got this pause, we can actually stop and really indulge in them a little bit more. Should we get into it?
Yeah, let's go. Let's
do it. So I'm going to start with a really, really tough one. Whose contract should we prioritise? Martinelli, Xhaka, and Saliba's. Now, I want to just add a little something to this question. When I say prioritise, it's nothing to do with, because when I was coming up with questions, I was thinking, should we do something about our youngsters and whose ceilings high? I actually don't want to play them off against each other because they're all amazing. But the reason I've worded it as whose contract should we prioritise is because you might see someone like Xhaka as, you know, been Arsenal all his life. You know, you're probably more comfortable. He signed a contract. Was it more recently? No,
3 seasons ago.
3 seasons.
Because he started at 17 and he signed a new one, so that must have been
they're all
18.
around the same time, actually.
So he's now 21, so it must have been 3 seasons ago.
Okay.
Must have been 3 seasons
Well,
ago.
someone like Saliba is only getting his first couple months of Arsenal action now, which is why I'm personally voting for Saliba. But I'd love to know. Go on, give us your thoughts, mate.
Do you know what? This is probably one of the hardest questions that I've had in a long time, and they are all so important for different reasons. If I went off, and I know we're going to spend a short amount of time on it, but if I went through Martinelli, I think the come up that he's had, he came who was a novice, who wasn't really meant to be part of those plans, and now you see he's into the national team for Brazil and has a chance of starting against, I think they play Serbia. You got Xhaka, who's the golden child for Arsenal. He's the poster boy for England, and you've also got Saliba, who in most people's eyes looks like a transformative and generational talent, and they all look quite good, but I think Saliba definitely looks like he's that ultimate top tier player. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. The only reason why I'll probably say Saliba is because I feel like we had Xhaka and Martinelli, and they were fantastic last season, but we saw what they did with the powers they had. I think with Saliba, he's come in and he's taken us up a level. I think he's so transformative. And even in my mind, I'm still flip-flopping. Should I go Xhaka or should I go Saliba? But I'm going to go for Saliba only because I feel like he is such a unique specimen. You look at him, and I say, when I went to the games this season, I saw him, I'm 6'3", I always say this, and he looks like a mountain even when I see him on the pitch, and I feel like I'm tall as well. But he just looks like a man that's ready to take the mantle for Arsenal and try to take them forward. And that's nothing to take away from Saka, and it's nothing to take from Martinelli. But if I had to choose one, and if I had to, I'm going to say Saliba.
Yeah, well, I mean, the funny thing is, we're working in this made-up world where Edu has no staff and he has to do all himself. The reality is there'll be teams that are working on all of them at once, talking to the agents. But I think the way I would put it is, everything you said, you're right, it's transformative. I think Jesus and Zinchenko coming in and him returning on loan, all big parts of why we've gone up level. But I also think that Saka and Martinelli have been shown now over a good year and a half, even Saka a bit longer, how important they are to Arteta in the process. Saliba still feels quite new to it and has had his time playing elsewhere.
Do you know why I would say Martinelli last as well? Only because of the quotes that he said, where I think it was 2 weeks ago in a press conference where he said, basically, I want to stay here forever. Basically, I just need a pen.
Yeah,
I think I'm summarizing what he said, but he literally wants, and we know that's almost verbatim from his mouth. So if I had to prioritize anyone, it's not going to be Martinelli, because I believe from his words he wants to stay at Arsenal.
Could you flip it and say, though, when you've got someone as committed as Martinelli, you don't want to alienate him, make him wait for ages. It's like, all right, we know he wants to sign this contract, get it done. Like, I don't know, maybe that's the flip side.
Yeah, you got me there.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I just thought that, from what he said, I know he wants to stay at Arsenal and be at Arsenal for, as I said, for a very long time. So now he knows that, and he wants to win things with Arsenal. He said that when he signed his first contract. He said that when he signed his second contract, when Arteta they did that release video when he signed his second contract with Edu as well. And he said it recently. I think it was a Europa League game. Don't quote me, but it was. So for me, look, I think I wouldn't prioritize Martinelli, just because I know that he's pretty much a given. He wants to stay. Whereas with Saka, we know he loves Arsenal. We know he likes to be there, but I haven't heard it as much in terms of the sort of inkling he wants to stay. I mean, I hope, and I'm sure he does. But
I think they're all gonna sign contracts. Actually, what have we got? Anchor says, "Here's what I honestly think: Saliba should be priority, but there is hardly any drop off between Saliba and White at centre back. Saka and Martinelli are much more difficult to replace in this market for cheap." That's interesting. That is interesting. I think that's
a great point as well.
I think we could deal with, while I think I agree that Saliba's transformative, I think we could deal with, say Saliba picked up a red card, we had to play 3 games without him. I think we could deal with that better in White coming to centre back, Tomiyasu playing right back, than we could if Saka or Martinelli got injured. Yes, Smith Rowe I think is superb. I really do. I think we're sleeping on Smith Rowe, by the way. I think he is absolutely brilliant, but he's not as direct and penetrative as Martinelli and Saka. Therefore, I think they are slightly harder to replace in this squad at the moment.
And I think, going back to my point with Saliba, I think the positions on the pitch, where's the hardest to play? I think the hardest skill to do is to finish. So yes, you would think strikers, but I think the hardest overall position is a centre back, because you have to do so much in the game,
especially in the modern day.
It's such a specialist position, and with the Arteta team, there are times, and listen, I'm only going off what you and Graham, because you do such a great show on the tactical review, really, really good. People, make sure you check that out. But you've shown on instances where they are left 2v1 at times, 1v1 against that attacker, and he needs to be the kind of player he needs to be. Gabriel needs to be the kind of player he needs to be so good for Arsenal's formation and tactic. The likes of Man City kind of would do that as well. So I think it's just so difficult to play Saliba's position and Gabriel's position, but we're talking about Saliba, that I think that's a harder and more difficult position to replace.
Sure. Saksham says, Saka and Nelly are settled. Saliba needs to be prioritised. There's something from Mike, who says, simply Saliba. He adds that Saka and Martinelli aren't going anywhere. Saliba could get tempted with the right offer, but Tommy adds that he thinks Saka is worth the most. That'd be an interesting question. How much are they all worth? Let's see what the poll is saying. 67% have voted for Saliba, 19% Saka, 13% Martinelli. All right, guys, I had a lot of fun with that one. Let's move on to the next one. Okay. Am I wrong? This is the question. Have I got this one wrong? And I'll elaborate now with the question. Has Xhaka always been this good, or has he improved a lot in the last, let's call it the last year? Now, the answers are yes, he's always been near this level, or no, he's come a long way. I believe that he's been playing well for longer than people give him credit for. But I think...
How long's that, would you say?
The last year and a half under Arteta. Okay. But I believe he has been significantly better this season. So therefore, for me, it's no, he's come a long way for me. I think the reason I asked the question, was I wrong? Look, I'll be honest, I said this on another live show. I was at a point where I thought, after the red cards, after some of the dip in form Arsenal shown over years, I thought he lacks dynamism. I couldn't understand what he offered going forward. I heard about leadership. I struggled to see it. And what I'm seeing is a player that I just almost don't recognise in terms of the dynamism box to box, the contributing in both boxes, the leadership in terms of the huddles, the everything. He's at the forefront. He's going at the rest, but in the good way. At Stamford Bridge, he was physical, winding up Chelsea in a good way. And I'm just of the belief personally that he deserved more flowers sooner for the way he was playing. But I still felt, I don't know if we're still getting enough though. Whereas now I'm so on board with him. Before you answer
the answer for this question, I want to ask you a question. Why do you think it's taken, Wenger, Ljungberg, Emery, so that's 3 managers, to play him in that box-to-box role? Why do you think it's taken people so long to kind of put him in that position? Because Arteta seems to be the savant here. He seems to be the guy that's sort of making magic. And for Switzerland, you saw the kind of different player, similar to Pogba, for France. Why do you think he's not been able to be put into that position? Maybe because he's not been trusted, I don't know. But it's an odd one that you see what he's been doing for Switzerland and you see how he's been playing for Arsenal for the previous 5 years and why, and 100 and plus performances, because I think it was the other day he got 200 performances. So let's say 100 performances are under his belt for Arsenal where he's not been trusted to play in that box-to-box role. Why do you think that's been the case?
Okay.
Because I think your answer will be able to help you answer these questions better.
At the risk of sounding... I don't want to sound dismissive of international football, especially when I'm about to go into a World Cup, but I struggle to take international form too seriously because I personally believe on the eye it's a slower game. I personally believe teams are looking to be a little bit more resilient when it comes to getting through tournaments. And so when Xhaka was bossing it against France, it didn't overly surprise me. France aren't a team that I expect to press and chase you and make it really horrible for you. They dominate in being solid and being efficient and effective. So whilst I could appreciate how well he was playing, I kind of thought, but does that translate over a 38-game season? Yeah. So then you go on to the manager thing. Well, Wenger's quoted, as saying that he's been he's a box-to-box. Yeah. Never really used him that. Would put him at the base with Ramsey and Wilshere either side of him at times, and Ramsey and Ozil at times. So he was often left exposed, and I don't think he's a 6. I think maybe in a team that functioned almost as well as Arsenal are playing now, he could probably do a lot better, but I don't think he's a 6. So then Emery had a few moments where he played him alongside Torreira, and I actually thought that was an underrated combo. I thought they did quite well. I remember games at home to Liverpool and Spurs where they played really well. Xhaka was brilliant in those games in the early Emery days. So I think we saw signs of what Xhaka could do when there's a little bit more protection behind him, a back 3 in the FA Cup finals, those kind of things. So now we move on to Arteta. I think now that Partey has mastered his role and can almost, as one man, control a midfield with the inverted players coming inside, Xhaka is able to almost just stretch his legs and going, I want to get forward. It's starting to look like something to me that he didn't do before because he necessarily didn't want to, wasn't instructed to do. And when we signed him from Mönchengladbach and I watched his highlights, I thought we were getting a box-to-box, dynamic, powerful, almost like Matic at Chelsea type of player. And we didn't I know Matic would sit, but I thought he could get forward. He could power forward.
I thought we was getting a Ramsey type of player.
Yeah, well, yes.
That is literally what
legs
I thought.
In midfield, energy, physical,
industrious, getting forward and getting on the end of shots. Also crosses, apologies, and taking the shot. So I totally agree.
I think maybe sometimes you maybe think these guys play week in, week out, day after day after day, matches every single week, and you almost maybe start to become what you believe you are, if that makes sense. And the minute Arteta said, no, you're quicker than this, you're sharper than this, get forward, you can score goals, you can and the minute the license is there and the team's set up to allow him to do that, you see him now flexing his muscles and showing what he can do. So I believe he has come a long way, and we are seeing a totally different level from him. But that's not to say he wasn't playing well before.
And look, to answer that question, I think it's really difficult. As you said, when he first came into Arsenal, listen, I have to be honest, I love Arsene Wenger with all my heart, all the things he's done for Arsenal. But there were times where we would buy a player, and when we bought that player, he would change from what we saw in the comps or what we saw previously. And we know that there's been these things being said about Arsene Wenger, where he would find players from shooting outside of the box. And he tries to restrict and refine players to make them into the Arsenal mold and how they want to play. So I think, was the quality always there? I think it was always there. But has he been good enough over the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years even? I'm not going to change and sort of like be fake. He hasn't been good. I think when you look at this guy and he talks and he bigs himself up to be this leader and be this guy that could carry Arsenal, there's been too many occasions where he's been such a letdown. I don't even want to talk about the positional stuff, because in truth, that's not always on him. If he's going out there and he's taking the role and the instructions of what the people that are managing the club or the team are giving him, he's doing the best. But what I am talking about is the other stuff. The leadership stuff, the constant red cards, the constant almost not learning from your mistakes, and even on the pitch,
penalties being given away.
Look,
I'm not going to rewrite history. That stuff used to wind me up.
And I think that's where I think, if we're incorporating in that in the question, has he always been good, not only on the pitch but his whole aura and transformation?
Well, let's say has his ability. So almost, if you forget, because what I don't want to do, especially when we're doing so well, is kind of go back through all his mistakes and stuff. But I do want to explore whether, if you kind of, it's easier said than done, if you remove the red cards and the penalty and the frustrating moments, was his level just on the ball as a footballer in game, was it always this good, or has he come a long way? I think he's come a long way, personally.
Yeah, I think he's come a long way. I mean, there were times where, and it's even happened at the start of this season, where he's, as amazing as he has been, there was a time this season against Leicester at home, in the first 5 minutes, he lost the ball and they could have scored. I think it was from Vardy.
Yeah,
so the guy has really, really quality moments, but they've been too far between in terms of the good, and there's been so much bad in between. So listen, he's been amazing this season, and even pretty much the majority of last season.
Last season he was good. All or Nothing did open my eyes to what he does behind the scenes. But I think that's more important.
I think it's very difficult to kind of put the blame on him, as much as I feel like I'm flip-flopping with my answer, because I feel like he's been almost set up to fail at times, because we see he is not a standalone six. He's not a player, and as you said, when we had Torreira next to him, he looked really, really good. He's just not someone who can sit there at the base of a three and control the game. He's not one of those guys that's going to dictate. He needs to be having other people around him, and he needs to be getting forward and kind of driving the team forward. And maybe people didn't think that he had that ability, but he's shown he has.
AFC Cape Town says, James, why do we need to go down this road full of bad memories? Well, first of all, I appreciate your comment came in a couple of minutes ago, AFC Cape Town, but we did sort of address that a couple of minutes ago. But also, I think because it kind of depends on perspective. You can either sit here and say that we are praising Xhaka and saying, you know what, fair play, you were always this good and we didn't see it. Or the other side of it is, we're praising him for what an amazing, how he's risen and become, for me, our player of the season. So either way, I think there's a positive to take out of it. But
100%.
I think also when we're talking, it's very easy to sit when things are going right, to sit here and go, everything's amazing, right? Look how great we are. Why don't we try and understand why it's improved? Why don't we try and look back at what went wrong and why it's so much better now? And then we as fans can look back and maybe the criticisms we made, me, a big critic of Xhaka, and go, you know what? Fair enough. I thought we can never challenge for a title with him in our midfield, and I was so wrong, because he's been our best player for me.
And look, I think you're very, very right. I think we have to give a lot of praise and a lot of respect to Arteta, because he's changed all of our minds, or maybe some of the people that really did believe in him. He's changed the people that didn't believe in Xhaka. like yourself, like me at times, to say, do you know what? You are someone who can be part of a title-winning midfield, because he's showing game in and game out this season and parts of last season, pretty much the whole of last season, that he can drive us forward. And listen, when he did what he did against Crystal Palace, I thought he was done. And there's been times this season and the end of last season where he's had that captain's arm badge, and I'm like, yes, give it to him. Let him drive the team forward. Let him be the guy. Yeah. Let him be the guy to bring.
He's the captain, isn't he?
He is the captain on the pitch, and I want him to drive us home and pull everybody together. So listen, man, it's all praise. There's nothing, and sometimes you got to think. Do you know what? You have to go through the BS to go to the sunny part, and it's nice to reminisce and say, do you know what? We've come from here and we've come so far. Be really proud and kind of like say, do you know what? This is the progression that we want to see.
What's that meme that goes around with the guy Paul Rudd plays Ant-Man, where he goes, who would have thought? Not me. That is literally.
I think it was it the hot wings that he
I think it was. Xhaka always does well at major tournaments for Switzerland, says Nishant. Mike, I think this is a great point. Mike says it was his pace. He had trouble tracking back previously when he would get forward, so Wenger and Emery had him sit back more. But what's interesting is while they said he didn't have the pace to get back, so let's keep him back, Arteta's gone, all right, we'll just put more protection around you so that you can
get him away from our defence.
And by the way, he doesn't look like he's got any problems getting back at the moment. He contributes anywhere. Anchor says Xhaka's always had a high floor, but this season he increased his ceiling. A high ceiling.
Now, I get it. I think he's always had that high ceiling to be a top player, but this season he's kind of reaching and showing that he's been that excellent player. And I don't disagree. And I think that's what I was trying to say earlier on. I think, unfortunately, there's been times where managers have almost made him be the scapegoat, unfortunately, because he's been the short straw in terms of that positional change. I think this system now is showing that he is a top quality player. I just think that there's been systems before that have made him look very frail and fragile, and that's made us as Arsenal fans and rival fans say, do you know what, this guy is not good enough for Arsenal. And that's why everyone kept saying he needs to go back to Italy because it's a slower league. He needs to go, well, not back to Italy, he needs to go Italy. He needs to go to Hertha Berlin when they were in for him for, what was it, £12 million? And Roma,
they weren't offering a lot.
They weren't offering a lot. And it's only...
Which, by the way, shows how he was viewed a little bit across Europe.
Exactly.
We were willing to do it at around 16, 17, 18 million from what I remember. 13 we considered too low, and that kind of almost told you something as well. So, but look, he's absolutely talented. Look what the votes are saying, nearly 500. 67% saying no, he's come a long way, but 33% do believe that he was always playing near this level. So listen, guys, I hope you guys have taken that debate in the right spirit, right? None of this is about trying to dig up dirt on players we've got, and it's about reflecting on how far we've come as a club, because let's not pretend the club only 2 years ago weren't going through, literally this time 2 years ago, the worst period I've ever seen. But we'll look how far we've come. All right. Again, I've worded this wrong in the comments, but it comes from something I believe you might have said, which is why, again, we've got Goon Leads, that's why I've chucked it in. So again, please take it in the right spirit. And I'm going to fight his corner. Gabriel, is he good enough? I'm going to tweak it slightly. Is Gabriel good enough to be part of is Gabriel good enough to help Arsenal win a title? Yes, he is, or no, he needs to improve still. Now, again, I want to come in very, very quickly with mine. I believe he is. I've always rated him massively. But for people wondering why we brought this up, it's because back in the summer you weren't so sure. Apologies for bringing it back up. You never said you didn't rate him, by the way.
No, I didn't.
You never, I want to get that clean, you never ever said you didn't rate him. But as I've dug myself up with Xhaka, I thought we'd bring up this one on Gabriel. Go on, give us your thoughts.
Right. Before people get onto me in the comments, I just want to say my point on this, right?
Yeah.
I've always rated Gabriel. As a centre-back, I think he's quality. I think he's got all the minerals to be an outstanding centre-back, and to be honest, I think he is a very, very good centre-back. But we can't forget the times where he's been very lackadaisical. He's been very off with some of his defending. You think about the game against Nottingham Forest, we are cruising at 1-0, and he does such a silly thing. And look, people make mistakes.
And he was actually playing well that game.
He was playing really well. And he passed, I think Xhaka passed the ball back to Gabriel accidentally. And he passed it directly, I think it was Morgan Gibbs-White, I think it was.
It might have been Jesse Lingard.
Maybe even Jesse Lingard. Yeah. And literally, like, under no pressure. And I think this is the issue that we've got with Gabriel, or we had with Gabriel. He's such a top defender. And I think at the age of 24, who in Europe is better than him? I can't really, probably Saliba. I can't really think of many centre backs that are at the level of quality that he shows
how young he is
and possesses. But what we can't say is that he doesn't make mistakes, because he does. He makes mistakes in sometimes 2 or 3 games. And do you know what, James? You said such a great point, and it's not to dig you out here, because you said it maybe off camera, so I don't know if I can say it, but you said something about Gabriel, and you can tell the kind of game Gabriel is going to have in the first 5 minutes. And you said this after the Brighton game that we lost 2-1 last year.
Did I? Okay.
You made such a great, and I won't forget this because I've always stuck with this point. You can tell if Gabriel's going to have a good game in the first 5 minutes, because if he loses his first header, if he makes his first wayward pass, or pass that's wayward,
I sort of remember saying something like
you know that he's going to normally tend to kind of have a few more mistakes and not play well. But the guy is great, and over the last 4 or 5 games, after he's got his contract, I think he's been amazing. He's been excellent, and the Wolves game, he showed the quality that he's got, because Saliba was a little bit shaky at times, and he covered and he's defended and helped to make that team solid. And you think the last 2 games we played Wolves away, well, Chelsea away, Wolves away, 2 clean sheets, and who would have thought that? Actually, I thought 4 points out of the 6 would have been great. So look, I'm going to say Gabriel is a quality defender. I'm not going back on it, because I always said that. No one can say that. I always said he's a quality defender, but I can also say that he's not always at 100%. And nobody is, but I see maybe too many times in a game, there's a little bit of a error. He's a little bit too many errors in his game.
You know the way I'd put it is,
people were saying that he's got this Mustafi vibe, or he's a donkey. That is nonsense. That is farcical, and that people need to start putting a little bit more respect on his name. Maybe if I need to do so, I will. But I will never ever let anyone slander Gabriel, because he's not worthy of being slandered. But you can be critical of his performances and say, you just need to make sure that you're always switched on and be that combative leader, because you're 24.
He loves a battle, doesn't he?
He loves a battle. And my thing is, he's 24 years old, Saliba's 21, so you would expect him to be the more commanding, dominant defender, because he's a bit older and he's got that bit more experience. So sometimes, and even at the beginning of this season, we were saying, oh, Saliba's the one that's doing all the commanding, and Saliba's doing all the one that's making the right decisions, whereas Gabriel was making the decisions that were kind of putting our team in a pickle. So look, that was all I was saying. But Gabriel is a fantastic defender, and he will win us the Premier League title. He will.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way he ended that. My quick 2 cents on it is, I said it before, but I think the way to sum up what you were saying there about the kind of the bad moments is, if I watch Saliba and Ben White and Tomiyasu having 10 out of 10 games, I'm watching them and Saliba's dominating at the bridge and they're doing well. I sit back and I'm like, they got this. With Gabriel, he could be having a 10 out of 10, and I still think, well, this might go wrong.
Yeah.
No, not when I'm watching him. Just a couple errors over the last maybe 12 months have suggested to me that actually he can be at his very best, and there might be an error in there. But that is the only any slight criticism, people get on you, man.
Yes.
That is the only little thing I have on who has been, for me, our best centre-back since Koscielny over a prolonged period of time.
100%.
Probably already in the top 2 or 3 centre-backs of the Emirates era.
100%.
Right? And a player who at 24 is shouldering a lot of responsibility and has ended the season since signing his contract before Southampton perfectly. So I'm super happy for him. 270 votes, 82% agree that yes, he is. And for anyone who, again, I know people get in the comments and why are we doing this, isn't it? But it was only a couple of weeks ago people were talking about White and Saliba, blah blah, and all that. So we just don't want to ignore.
I think the last point we've got to make on someone like Gabriel, because I think it's really important. You think of the technical level of Ben White, very, very high. You think of the technical level of Zinchenko, extremely high. You think of the technical level of Tomiyasu, extremely high. You think of the technical level of Saliba, extremely high. I think Gabriel falls a little bit below that, So he always will look a little more on the weaker side, the more of a hindrance in that defence. So I think when he does make a mistake, it's going to probably be more from him, because his technical level isn't at the high level.
I'm glad you're putting it that way, because it's actually still very, very good. His distribution the last 2 games, Wolves and Chelsea, has been immense. But
I think there's just another level for the other 3 defenders that are so much. I mean, look at that ball that Ben White played for Jesus in the first half. Was it second half? Yeah. Just out of this world. Yeah. I mean, if De Bruyne played that, everybody would be dribbling from their mouth. I know. And Ben White played it.
Devon has supported you with his super chat. He says, I think Gabs and Saliba is a traditional centre-back pairing. One hard-nosed and one smooth. The key is they are young and they will become amazing. Let's go through some other comments. How's it going, people? The great one says, James, you have the highest defensive line this season, yet we've conceded the least XG against. Azrael says he hardly makes mistakes. That's the issue. We've come so far that a single mistake seems like the end of the world, when most defenders would be making 2-3 a game. Yet very good. Naeem says he's a good player, but this season, as one of our most experienced defenders who's been here a while, has made a mistake almost every match. He still needs to level up some more.
See, even that, right? I'll be honest. Big up to the chat. I don't agree he makes a mistake every game. I think, again, listen, maybe he said it just in jest, I don't know, but I think that's far-fetched. I don't think he's made a mistake every game. I think he makes maybe 1 or 2 in a game at times, but for someone to say that he makes a mistake every game, I mean, that's just that's over the top, because then I think that we would have had a lot more defensive frailties. But in most games, and even judges said it today when I was watching the sort of podcast with Robbie, listen, like the game against Wolves, I felt assured as hell. I didn't feel any pressure. So he doesn't make mistakes every game. So, I mean, I just don't agree with that at
all. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I wonder if Dave Jordan's in the comments, because me and him have had some back and forth over this one. Okay. I acknowledge that the run we've been on is amazing. But there's always still room for improvement. It's like how good we've been. You can still be even better. The question is, was it right to be starting Tomiyasu at left back over Tierney? This caused so much debate. I'm gonna let you go first, because I have changed my mind, but I have an argument for that. We'll explore it. What do you think? We'll be quick, because we have still quite a few to go through. Go for it.
I'm going to just say, honestly, I think this is probably the hardest one of all of them, because I love Tierney. He's probably my favourite player at Arsenal. I wanted him to be the Arsenal captain, even though I love Odegaard as well. I'll be honest with you. I think Tomiyasu is probably the better left-back option this season, because he's not done anything to kind of not be in that position. And in my opinion, I think when you look at all of our cluster of defenders, I think Tomiyasu is the best one-on-one defender we've got.
Yeah, I actually agree
his defensive nous and his defensive positioning when it comes from corners, his balls into the box, he's learning how to overlap. I think he's so good on his left and his right. He's a lockdown defender. You saw what he did to Salah. When he went home, he took his keys, he took his Vaseline out, and he took Salah out of his pocket. So for me, I'm going to say, I love Tierney. He's my favourite player. It hurts me that he's on the bench, because I think we need to remember how good and what Tierney did for us. He was at the start of our new process, even though he was under Emery. And listen, I love the guy, man. So it's a hard one.
Let's go with your answer then. So yes, it was right. But it's 51% now for Tierney. This is tight. You're right. This is the hardest.
It's hard.
Okay, I'm going to make a case for Tierney, which is how I used to feel, but I have changed my mind. But this is my case for the Tierney thing, right? When Zinchenko was fit after Tomiyasu got injured, we had control over 90 minutes against Chelsea and control over 90 minutes against Wolves. Now, okay, that's Zinchenko, that's not Tierney. But this might sound so pedantic, and it might not matter. Tierney and his left foot and his ability to overlap, and that just be an option, I think is something Arsenal lacked a little bit when we went to Leeds, we went to Southampton, games where we were good/very good in the first halves and dropped a lot in the second half. Against Brentford, control for 90 minutes when we had a left-footed left-back in Kieran Tierney. Now that second Wolves goal comes from Zinchenko overlapping Martinelli, and he cuts it across goal and we score. So I think there's a real argument for we might have come through Leeds and Southampton more comfortably, or won at Southampton, had we had and that's what I said at the time. I was Southampton, a left-footed left-back who offered just a different option. If you see in the Wolves game, White didn't over that much, but there was a moment where he did, and it caused problems. And there's unpredictability. However, for everything I've just said, just to make a debate of it, I do actually agree with you. And the reason I agree with you is mainly what we did at Nottingham Forest, against Nottingham Forest, where in that first goal, Tomiyasu wins the ball high up the pitch and go again. We end up beating Liverpool, and Tomiyasu does brilliantly in that one-on-one battle with Salah. And, we have done so well this season that how could I dare look back at anything really Arteta's done and say you've got it wrong. But it was an interesting debate for a long time, and I think it remains one that divides people, because people can still go, well, we could be 7 clear had he played Tierney at Southampton, and Tierney actually with a bit more practice will end up the better left back. So listen, it's an interesting.
It's a hard one. It is.
Tierney forces his opposite number back, says Josh. Yeah, I think that's true. Nishant says Tomiyasu is a good reader in defence, while Tierney loves making attacking runs forward. Danny says Tomiyasu was only good in one game at left back against Liverpool. I mean, I kind of agree. I don't think he was brilliant when he played left back against Forest and Southampton, but he wasn't bad at all. He wasn't the problem.
No, he wasn't.
Any means.
No, and again, I don't think he had much to do. And I think one thing that a lot of people are kind of maybe forgetting is, I think the reason why Tierney doesn't play is because of the person that we have in front of him, who's Martinelli. Martinelli is someone who's more of a touchline winger, so there's actually no space for Tierney to overlap. He's not going to do the inverted thing because that's just not his game. He's very good at overlapping, bombing up and down. He is not a Zinchenko. He is not a Tomiyasu. So it's very difficult to put him into the team and ask him to do something which is not his forefront idea of how to be a defender or a fullback. So I think that's the reason why. I think when ESR comes in the team, you're going to see, because you've seen the link up between the two of them.
That is such a good point.
I think you're going to see that.
You're spot on.
I think so. Missing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Smith Rowe might be the key to unlocking more game time.
I think it is, because he's more inverted, and you see the difference between. You can see, everybody sees the difference between ESR and Martinelli.
We've seen a little bit of that in the Europa League, where he's played Eddie on the left and Jesus up front. But Eddie obviously wants to get nearer to goal.
Exactly
so
that.
We've seen Tierney overlapping.
Exactly.
Fair point. Katie is a man and a half. Our best left back overall, says Mike. Tommy is just vital when we need to shut down prolific wingers with his defending. Just for the Liverpool game, yes, but for a natural left-footed left back, no, says Zeke. And it's 50-50 after 268 votes. Is it going to tilt one? I'm going to give one more minute. Is it going to tilt one way or another? And as we do that, we'll present the next one, which is, does Gabriel Jesus need to score more for Arsenal to win the league? Yes or no? And we'll have it there. Yes, he inverts better. 51%. Tomiyasu takes it. But that just shows how loved and adored they both are by the fan base. Rizwan says, Gabriel is a goal-scoring centre-back. He's won us games where we were drawing to Fulham. Chelsea had argued that we need him to win the league. 7 clean sheets, 11 goals conceded. Our centre-backs are bossing it. Very true. That was on the topic from before. Dave Jordan, here he is. I knew it. He says Katie's just overrated. Oh, I've lost it. Hold on.
No,
let me
say that.
vote this.
He didn't say that.
Hold on. He said. Hold on. I've lost it. Let me just get rid of this. It's just overrated. He lost a lot physically since the injury, and technically, he's by far the weakest. We won't go into any more of that. Yeah. Dave knows I don't agree with him on that, but everyone's entitled to their points. And we touched on the technical stuff. Jesus, does he need to score more goals for Arsenal to win the Premier League? Yes or no?
I just want to ask you one question before. What was your prediction of the amount of goals that he needs to score before he started to kick a ball for Arsenal?
In all comps, I was in Orlando. I said about 22 in all comps.
Premier League.
Yeah, I didn't. I was coward with that answer. I think 15 was what I was looking for in the Premier League.
Wow. I said 18. I think 15 is good, but it's not enough. It's not good enough because.
What's he on now?
The only
5.
The only reason why I say it's not
a third of the way through.
A third of the way through, and it actually makes sense because it's 14 games, so it's just over.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I would say it's not good enough is because he came to Arsenal, guys. I went to go and check the. I think it was a month into his season at Arsenal, and he said he's come to be the number 9. He's come to score goals. So if I'm going off his words, he needs to get those goals to validate what he's saying and to prove that he is the main number 9
to win the Premier League.
I don't think that you can score 10 goals, 11 goals, unless, and with a caveat, unless his GA is like out of this world, and that's probably him getting.
He is getting a lot of assists.
He is, but I think if in the Premier League, I think he would need to get 20 plus assists, because I think we have 16 or 17 goal scorers, goal and assist merchants, or for us so far this season. But I just think in those crunch moments, the most important game I can think about so far was the Southampton game. The game was on his head, to be honest. You think about it, he had ample opportunities to get 1, 2, 3, 4 goals. The most important chance he had, the easiest chance, was the Odegaard chance. He flicked it up and he kicked it, and Jesus kicked it right at the keeper. And we all love Jesus, what he's brought to the team.
Yeah,
but I just think he needs to get those goals, because when you end with 10, 12 goals, it's just not going to be enough. I just don't think it's going to be enough.
So to win the Premier League, and that's what I want to stress, not to challenge City, not to come forget,
no, to win,
for Arsenal to improve significantly. To win the Premier League, I personally believe he does. And the reason I say it isn't actually even just anything on him.
I know what you're going to say.
It's actually because then the reliance is put even more so on very young players where there's not a lot of depth.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be moments like Southampton where we're not at our best, and you ask yourself, would a goal from our 9 have just sorted that? We didn't play brilliantly, but City, and I said that, and a lot of City fans weren't happy with me on social media when I said this, but they're not. City aren't actually a better on the eye side with Erling Haaland. But my God, does he score goals? Okay, against Brentford he didn't, and you could see then you noticed the falls on City more, but he's just putting it in the back of the net when those opportunities are coming.
Do you know what? I would love to ask the chat, and if we have time at the end, another great question. If Jesus doesn't get those 18 or 15 goals in the Premier League, it would be great to ask you and ask the chat, do you believe that Martinelli and Saka will get us 20 plus goals each? Because I think we're going to need to win it.
Sorry guys, I'll whip my phone out.
To win it,
a bit of research.
To win the Premier League, I think we're going to need, from that front line, you're going to need at least 50 goals. And that's not including subs.
From the front
three, yeah. I think you're going to need 50 goals, because in truth,
that's a lot, you know.
Yeah, but in total over a season, I think
Saka in the league has got 4 goals, 6 assists. So remember that, 4 and 6.
4 and 6, yeah.
Martinelli stats. Oh, to use transfer mark.
But we should just do goals. Just do goals, because that's what we're thinking about.
Yeah,
goals.
Okay,
so 4.
So 4 for Saka, 5 for Martinelli, and we know it's 5 for Jesus.
Yeah.
Odegaard's got 6, I believe.
Yeah. So but that's not going to. I don't think that's going to be a longevity thing.
Sure, I don't expect him to have. He's on course for 18, basically.
Yeah.
16,
I don't think that's
17, 18.
Happen,
I don't think that's going to happen. So 5,
14.
4, 14. Times that by 3, 30, 42. They're on course for around 42 goals. Maybe a little bit less, 40 goals.
Yeah. I think between.
I think it needs to get to 45.
I think 50. I think 50. Yeah. You see. So like that's simplistically the asking the chat and asking yourself, if Jesus does, if maybe flip the question, if Jesus doesn't get those 15 goals or 18 goals, do you trust Martinelli and Saka to get us 20 goals in the Premier League? I love these guys and they're young. I don't want to put too much pressure on them. I don't. So I'm going to say no, I don't trust them, because I just don't think that they have the quality. Of course they do. But I don't know if they're going to be able to do it continuously, game in, game out. They're not going to be the Manes and the Mo Salahs.
Do you know what it is? I trust them. I think they can. I think that, but I just don't. I just don't think that's a fair ask.
That's my point.
You talk about the 45 to 50. That should really be like 18 to 20 Jesus.
That's my point.
And then what's there to make up? So, okay, maybe not. Maybe 18 Jesus and then like 10 and 10.
Yeah,
like
10, that was my point. Yeah. So my point is that it's not about whether they. I do trust them, but my point I'm trying to say is I just don't think we should be asking 2 21-year-olds to be the saving beacon light
for winning the Premier League.
For winning
that's what we need to stress.
That's what I'm asking.
Not being a good side, not changing.
Of course, yeah.
Win the Premier League. We're talking about the highest level.
The highest level.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting.
No.
Yeah, that's
totally agree.
Listen, it's been a great chat. I mean, what's everyone saying? Ian says 20 goals combined, but without Jesus chipping in 15 to 20 goals. Goals win you games, clean sheets win you leagues. So Saliba, he's looking at Saliba more than Jesus. Interesting. What else have we got? We need to score 60 to 80 goals to win this title. I think we need more.
Well, Arteta said you need 90 to 100. So
yeah, I agree. I worry about Jesus for his confidence. He was starting to look desperate, says Josh. I'm not worried about his confidence. He's playing so well anyway.
So well, yeah.
Gabriel Jesus doesn't need to score more in order for us to win the league because Aubameyang and Sanchez were scoring for fun. Did we win the league as a result of that? But Lennox, it's not a. They're not mutually exclusive. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not a case of, well, if you've got a striker who scores 25 goals, you're going to challenge for the title. It doesn't work like that. You've got to have the other ingredients. But ultimately, to keep up with a side like City, you've got to have everything. You know, they had Salah, but they had Van Dijk.
And they had Mane as well.
Yeah. The question could be framed better as his current 5 goals not good enough and he needs more, but not a crazy amount, just maintain performances, says Varshnaya. Rizvan says, Jesus is doing bits, we need another striker. I don't see Jesus scoring 15 goals a season. Saka and Martin can dip in form, so we need options. Shresh says, I want our talented youngsters to tie down new contracts. If Arsenal buy Mudryk and Savic, I bet we'll get back the money in the league. If we win the Premier League, I guess he's saying, we'll make it money back just by winning. We've said it. What are the votes saying? 420 votes. Yes. They do believe he needs to. But again, for anyone to do the whole, this is negative. Jesus will know this. Yeah. Why do they look so disappointed?
He said it the other day. He said he knows he needs to score and he will score. He said, I will get goals. He will
score goals. You know the rate at which he started the season, goals against Brentford, Tottenham, couple against Leicester, one disallowed at Bournemouth that shouldn't have been. Like, he'll score goals. But the rate he was scoring in pre-season, he'll score goals.
Trust
I'm
me,
not worried about that.
My last point, he will get goals. If you look at his XG chances, there's a goal glut of incoming with this guy. He's going to go on a scoring run of maybe 4 or 5 games getting 2 goals in each game. I can guarantee it because the XG that he's producing is out of this world. Listen, he's coming and we all believe in him.
Yeah, agreed. All right, guys, 3 more. And we're going to try to do them in about 15 minutes. So 5 minutes on each one. We'll make a case each. Which midfield position is more of a priority for Arsenal? A box-to-box 8, a deep-lying 6?
A deep-lying 6, there's no question about it.
Let's put that in the...
There's no question about it. I just think the drop-off between Partey, and it's unfair. Partey's so good that we have to rely on someone like Elneny, who's very good, he's very serviceable, but the difference in quality is just astronomical. I think it's very difficult and very hard on the other players. But for me, Partey's role, Partey's position is almost the hub of the team. Getting that ball from the defence to the attack makes the team. And if we don't have someone like Partey who can win that ball back and pass it forward, not sideways, not backwards, forward, I mean, nothing happens, does it? Like, I mean, the team just doesn't function. And you see the players like Ben White, he doesn't overlap. You see Zinchenko, he has to maybe be a bit more adventurous, which he probably shouldn't have to do. So I think that position, there's such a drop off. We're not going to rely on Elneny because he's got a 1-year contract that we know we're going to let him probably go at the end. Lokonga, at this moment in time, he started well, but he's not high on confidence and he looks a bit like a fish out of water. So for me, I think a deep line 6 is. It is very important that we get
in the summer. I would have been here absolutely arguing the box-to-box 8 role. And I said no, or not even just a box-to-box, but we need a Tielemans, we need a different type of creator, we need someone who can create from deep, who can dictate play, all that. And I would have said Tielemans every day of the week. I have changed my mind. A, because Xhaka never gets injured. B, because Xhaka has been so good that I think what would be the point in that signing, because he wouldn't play much, at least this season, in terms of getting through this season. 3, because I actually think Vieira has shown that in games where we have a lot of the ball, he can come in and do that. I think even he wasn't brilliant against Wolves, but lovely assist and showed what he can do with that underlap. And yeah, as BX Bully says here, ESR can play there as well. He can come in and play as that. Someone made a great point they've been talking about on Twitter. We've seen Odegaard and Smith Rowe starting midfield together, it's not really worked. But now when you've got Zinchenko behind who's distributing the ball, Smith Rowe might have a lot of fun getting into the box, making late runs, scoring goals. He's made for that. And I've not given up hope on Lokonga when he's playing with the first team around him, Partey, and he's got the freedom of the box-to-box role, actually showing what he's got. I think there's talent there. He's not played well for a while, but I think there's talent.
Do you know what's funny is what you said about
the
Lokonga? I think it's hard because I watched that game against Orlando in the pre-season, and he played in that 8 role and he scored a goal. I think he scored a header.
Chelsea, yeah.
Was it Chelsea? Apology.
Yeah.
And he was so good. He was so good in that game, and he kind of took his badge, took off, and he was like kind of really patching the badge and touching the badge, saying, "Look, I want to be here," etc., etc. So I don't know if I'm sort of as high on you with Lokonga, but I do think that he again is someone who maybe needs a loan or just needs a little bit more game time. But I think the deep line 6 role is it's the hub, it is the function of our team. I think nothing works without Partey in our team.
Yeah, and we need someone who can at least come in. And I actually don't think Elneny plays that role even that badly.
No, he doesn't.
But it's such an important role that not that bad isn't. It's about we want to push for the title. Yeah. I hear what you're saying. All right, 83% have agreed a deep lying 6 is the priority. So let's see what they do. That's what they tried to do deadline day of the summer transfer window. They went for Douglas Luiz, so that tells you everything. Here's the next one. This is poll number 7, everyone. Does a top quality wide player help or hinder Martinelli and Saka's development if they were to arrive this January? So the answer: help because they need rotation, or hinder, they could lose game time.
Ooh. Do you know what? In truth, we've got ESR to kind of fight with Martinelli anyway, so you could probably think about that, and I'm going to probably say no in that position. The Saka one, the reason why it depends who we get, because if we get someone who's an experienced, world-class player, then that's when I think there could be an issue with that. But I mean, if I'm Saka, do I want someone to kind of come in and sort of battle for my position and show that the ambition of the club, or do I want to be the main man and not have anyone? It's quite a difficult one, but I think for the club, you need someone to come in and sort of keep you on your toes and make sure that, again, 2 21-year-olds aren't the be-all and end-all of our team and on our club. So I think ultimately, yes, we do need help, and we've got. I mean, the transfer daily and stuff like that will be coming out in January. So I don't want to take too much shine from Don Robbie, but I think we've been courted for the Ukrainian. Was it Mudryk? I think ultimately, yes. The answer is yes. I think we do need to get someone that comes in and rotate. The only last thing I'm going to say is, and I think this is the most important reason why, especially this season, is we don't know what's going to happen in the World Cup. So having Saka and Martinelli being able to be allowed to ease in a little bit, so having that release of valve of ESR and another winger to can play wherever, will allow these players to come back and not have to be playing game in, game out, having the disappointment or whatever it is, and the sort of energy being exacerbated from them in that World Cup.
So you think they do need?
Yes,
it would help them.
Yeah, it will help them.
88% agree. I think it will help them because Saka can play right and left. He's even played in midfield before. Martinelli can play anywhere across the front three, even up front. Maybe he's the depth to a Gabriel Jesus. I just think we could add a top quality winger, and rather than Saka going, oh, he plays in my position, I'm getting dropped if he plays really well, it's a case of one of Martin, Jesus and Saka stay on their toes with all of them knowing there's a very good chance I keep my place still. And I think when we want to compete in the latter rounds of the Europa League, they'll want to win it. We want to be challenging City all the way. We want a cut run. Who doesn't want to play at Wembley? I think these are all players. They are 3 players I'll go, yes, I love the competition.
What do you think? What do you say to the people that may say something along the lines of, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So if it's not broken, you don't need to fix it. With that front 3 is Arsenal's front 3. We know that Reece Nelson, we know Marquinhos, they're not going to get a look in, basically.
Okay. The first team isn't broken. They're doing their thing brilliantly. But the bench, I think, is a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a great tweet, I think, from Tom Canton said,
big up Tom.
I think we've only, absolutely. Check out the Gooner Talk. He said, we've only got something like 2 goals from the bench this season. And they were both Reece Nelson against Forest. So he had a long time on the pitch. and he was playing one of the worst teams in the league. Not taken from him, by the way. I'm just adding context to the goals from the bench we got. And we need a little bit more from the bench. And so we need to fix that element, because I am yet to see substitutions that have improved Arsenal. I'm sure there will be some example of it out
Tierney,
there. Tierney, Southampton, I think. Yeah, probably. So I think it would fix the bench and help us.
And I think just thinking about it logically, if there's depth in the defence, why can't there be a depth in the attack?
And there's serious depth.
There's serious, well. So I think that's just another part of the squad game now, isn't it? It's a squad game. We've got 5 subs for a reason. So
here's the last one. Actually, let's go through the votes. 256 of you.
Fair enough.
88% agree that they want the rotation.
Easy.
Mudryk is special, says Colby. We saw that with Chelsea, and look at them now. If you don't keep adding, you fall off a cliff, says Josh. We're excited for Rafinha, so signing a winger now is similar to Zeke's. I wanted Rafinha for the very reason we've all been saying. Rafael Leao is renewing with Milan, apparently. That's not true. What else have we got?
I think also the type of player is important. Do you want someone who is guaranteed that they want to play week in and week out, or do you want someone who's still got a little bit to prove and can accept that they will play maybe 2 games in a row on the bench and then come on and then start to develop from there and fight?
I want someone who everyone goes, when we do the starting 11 show, we go, he might start, you know.
Yeah.
And too often that starting 11 show has become predictable in terms of what we're going to get. Yeah, the Tomiyasu Tierney thing was one thing, but ultimately
that's it.
We're talking about forwards, goal scorers, you know, difference makers, you know, in the final third. There was a great comment. Joel asks, do you guys rate Charlie Patino? Would he be ready to step up next season? I do, and another reason, it goes back to that debate we're having about the 8 and 6. Patino then could be ready to help Xhaka.
Another one, guys, make sure you look out for Brooke Northton Coffey. The right back, is amazing. He's going to be our version of Reece James, apologies. The guy is a machine going forward.
He looks fantastic.
Very, very good.
Final poll. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. Do you like this kind of thing? More polls. I hope you find it a bit more engaging. We've got some amazing stuff coming on AFTV. That's going to allow us to engage with you guys in a way that you've never seen on this channel. So we're really excited for that. But if you do enjoy this kind of thing, of course, we are also going to be doing content during the World Cup. So let us know in the comment section your ideas for what works, what you enjoy. And if you do, we'll do more of these. Final poll. Are the younger B team players unfairly criticised? Didn't really ask to say B team, but let's just be honest. We know that they're not starting the Premier League if certain players are fit. The answer is yes, they need time with the first team. No, they're not taking their chances.
Do you know what? I think we've agreed on every single one, and I think we may disagree on this one. I think no, they're not taking their chances. It's a hard one because you see the drop off in overall quality. No disrespect, someone like Holding. We know that he's a finisher in the first team. We know that he's someone who comes on and is a stalwart defender, but no quality on the ball. Nothing that he's going to bring to the team in any kind of real great quality. But what I will say is there are some other players who, in that B team, the younger players, who aren't really grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck. You can even probably laud that a little bit at Reece Nelson. I think he was quite good from the reports at the Brighton game in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, some highlights looked really good.
Really good. But I still, there are just Lokongas, and Nketiah's, who I love. I think he's really good. But just there are too many times in a game where it's just too many peaks and troughs for some of these players, and the troughs are so long in the game. There's too many low moments in the game where you don't hear their name and you don't know what they're doing. And I think when you're in that position where Marquinhos, where you want to make a name for yourself, you want to show the manager that if you do want to knock on his door, look at what I've done. Look what I've done. Just at least give me a chance, or put me on for 5-10 minutes and then see what I can do from there. Don't go and buy that Mudryk, because Marquinhos, I'm the guy that I'm putting on this on your team sheet. I don't know if anybody's done that apart from Reece Nelson. And in truth, it's taken Reece Nelson 3 longs. Feyenoord, he went to Germany. He went to somewhere in Germany, Hoffenheim, and it's just taken a long time for him to kind of maybe fully understand where he's going to be. And I don't even think he's going to stay in the end. So yeah, I don't know if they've taken their chance at all.
Some amazing comments coming in. So The Longhorn JJ says they need some time with the first team. Just look at Vieira's performance when he's surrounded by starters versus when he's heavily rotated squad. Joshua's...
I don't know if Vieira's. I would put him in that B team, in my opinion.
That's interesting. I consider him.
I wouldn't put Vieira only because I think the only reason why Vieira hasn't actually been getting more game time is because he broke his foot in the summer and he actually wasn't fit.
Fine.
That's the only reason why. So I'm going to remove.
In my head, he was. So that's very interesting. So Josh says, I think some of them need quality around them. Sean at Vieira, but it just comes to show the drop off in each position between the first team and the rotation players. We need to narrow that gap. There's a 50-50 for me, says D-Man Gunner. I would say some haven't given a real chance, but when you have to deliver because it creates that chance for you to shine. You're right. This is the first one that we disagree on. I think that they are unfairly criticised. They deserve to be judged really when they're with the first team, rather than when you just put a load of random players together. But what I will say is, I feel a little like I'd like to have seen more. They're not coming up against opposition that I think, well, no, fair enough. How can you do anything about this? You expect a tad more. However, this Arsenal team have come on so much, and you can see how when the players are in place and certain things are there, how it all comes together. And you can bring on Reece Nelson for Saka, and guess what? We played just as brilliantly against Forest for at least the whole second half. And you can bring in. I actually thought, controversial, I thought at Old Trafford we played well, and that was Lokonga in the six. So in that role, yes, he was caught out of position. But actually, in terms of having the ball, moving it around and dominating at Old Trafford, that wasn't really an issue. And I can think of other examples where Tomiyasu's come in for Zinchenko, but again, he's not really second team. Do I think if we played Wolves and Eddie started instead of Jesus, that we don't win that game? I think we probably still win it. Even though Jesus was crucial to us getting over the line, I think we probably still win it. So I think they do deserve to be judged more for what they do in the first team. But that doesn't mean you just ignore what they're doing when it is a rotate 11 and go, well, it doesn't matter. Going out to Brighton when Brighton have also made 8 changes is pretty embarrassing. We shrugged it off because of how well we've done the season, but it's not a good look, if we're being really honest. So,
and as I said, I don't think they're bad players, these beast teamers or the younger players. But as I said, I just feel like there are too many lows for some of these guys in the performances. They haven't really got an excuse of saying that they're not feeling fit or they're not rested enough because they're not really playing. They need to now just grab games by the scruff of the neck, grab it by the horns and say, do you know what, this is the opportunity that I'm taking. Similar, and we're not asking you to get 2 goals like Reece Nelson did. I'm not asking you to get 4 assists in a game or be outstanding, but do something more that allows you to sort of knock on the manager's door and say, do you know what, I don't want you to buy this player because I'm dependable. I'm going to come off the bench and be your Reyes, your Lundbergs, your Halebs from back in the day. Like these are the kind of real squad rotational players that we kind of need, and I feel like they've not taken their opportunity so far.
I think what I will say, it hasn't shaken my belief in their potential. I still believe there's real potential in. Marquinhos doesn't play a lot, so probably not fair to mention, but Vieira, absolutely, I think there's serious potential there. Lokonga, I know, again, we differed on that a little bit, and people in the comments have said some stuff, but I do believe that there's a lot of potential. I think of everyone in the squad, he's playing the furthest away from his potential, but that's because of how much I think the potential's there as well, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's I think there's quality there for the guys, but I agree with you. I asked you guys, are you enjoying this format? Nishant says, good show this, loving it, thank you so much. Zeke says, well, this is talking about before, he said he was disappointed, especially with Eddie, after the whole number 14 debacle, but you can't put that on the 14 stuff. He scored some goals and he's done okay. I think he's played better than people have given.
I think, look, I was upset when he took the number 14, but let's not hold it against him. Let's flip it, guys. Let's say, do you know what? He's taken the number 14 because he believes in himself, and he's seen his idol. He's seen someone who's been absolutely great, not for Arsenal, but in the Premier League, and said, do you know what? I want to take the mantle for this club and be the new wave of young English hairline players to move this club forward. That's just the way you got to look at it. Like, there's no point being like annoyed with the team and being butthurt, because at the end of the day, he's not going to change his number, and he loves the club and he wants to do well. And let's leave it there, guys.
Elliot says, great show indeed. The Longhorn says, love this format. I'm supposed to be working, but I can't click away from this tab. I'm really glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, funny one from Agent E, which I'm not going to read out. Great polls and engagement, says BX Billy. I'm really glad you've enjoyed that. Yeah, and there were a few others, but yeah, you guys, thank you so much for the feedback. All right, we'll do more of this stuff. We'll absolutely do more of this stuff. And I haven't got the final result, I don't think, of that poll. Yes, here we go. No, they're not taking their chances. Fair enough. So well, there you go. That's those are the standards at Arsenal.
Yeah, they're rising. They're rising.
We're hopeful of big things. You know, and as a fan base and as a club, and you can see that Arteta is as well. So, Lee, you've been world class. Thank you so much. Go check out Goonally's channel. It's called Goonally, right?
Yeah, it's in the title, guys. There's I don't even know 1,000 of you in here. Please 1.5. Make sure you go and follow me on YouTube. It's Goonally. Go do that now. It's in the title, so you don't have to do much more than just click and subscribe. And you know what? There's going to be big things in there. I'm going to hopefully get James on there as well, so we can do.
Hey, that'd be good, guys. Go support Lee and the Arsenal community. Honestly, a big thanks to everyone who's joined us. We will be doing content throughout the World Cup. Don't you worry about that. Yes, DR Sports will be busy. Yes, the World Cup will be covered, and you'll see us on DR and doing all that, talking about the World Cup. You can talk about it on AFTV, but there will be AFTV and Arsenal specific content coming, so don't miss out on that. If you did enjoy this video, please hit the like button. It helps us massively. It pushes out to people who will also enjoy this video and can engage with us more. We can get more fans and engage with this massive community more. So yeah, do that. And if you haven't subscribed, then of course I'm going to ask you to subscribe. And my last bit of homework, last little bit. The FTV hoodies.
Can they see it?
You want to support AFTV, if you want to support Thierry Henry, if you want to support the current players, I've got Saliba top I love. That link is in the description below, guys. And honestly, I'm not told what to wear. I just want to make I'm not told. We put these on. Like I come in every day. We actually kind of joke about it. I'm constantly wearing the merch because I love it.
And can I just say, just to add on, it not only does it look good, but it actually genuinely feels great.
I'm glad. No, it does feel good. I feel very comfortable.
It is very comfortable. So please make sure that you go and just maybe try one or two things. And Christmas is coming up, so if you guys want to give anyone any presents, I would say this one. I mean, I'm just saying this one feels great because it feels good on me. So it feels good on the skin. So make sure you go and purchase that stuff, man. So listen to James, man. He's the guy, man. He's the guy. I
appreciate it. Guys, you've all been class. Thank you so much for the comment section. Honestly, you've been brilliant. You've made this show what it is as well. Engaging with us, adding to the conversation, voting and all that. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. This has been the longest outro of all time. We're out of here.